and it's World Autism Day today. In fact, the month of April is Autism Awareness Month. Autism, ASD, refers to a broad range of conditions characterized by challenges with social skills, repetitive behaviors, speech, and non-verbal communication. The month of April, as I have indicated, is dedicated to educating and creating awareness on autism. So today on the show, we have Executive Director of Autism Compassion Africa, Whitney Hammel Anny, one person championing this awareness, creating venture to help us with a discussion on autism. But I wanted this discussion to also go in the way of helping if you're a parent, if you're a mother, if you're a father, if you're a guardian with a child with autism. How can you, take care of that child? If you have been, and I know that it gets really difficult, where do you find that little inspiration, that motivation to keep on doing what you've been doing? Because it can really be very difficult. So Whitney, good morning to you. You know this.
Good morning.
This is so all familiar to you. So let's approach it this way. Mm-hmm. How well have we been doing? I mean, you've been here for a while. The autism, you have a foundation, and you see children with autism, you see parents. Mm-hmm. So I'm just asking, how well have we been doing in that context?
Autism services have been growing during my time here in Ghana, but it has a very long way to go. Autism affects 1 in 59 children. And if you apply those statistics to the population of Ghana, that's over 500,000 individuals on the autism spectrum. However, there are only a handful of schools. Many local schools do not take children with autism in their schools as well. So I think there's definitely been progress that I've seen during my time here. People are starting to become more aware of this word autism and what some of the early warning signs are, but there's always more work to be done.
Yeah, it is. And especially when, I guess we're also guilty because we talk about it only when it is April. And sometimes it's just one day in April and that's case closed. But let's take us through the signs. How can you tell? I was talking to Roland a bit earlier, and he was talking about an 8-year-old. Parents had no idea that she had the condition.
And she just was recently diagnosed?
Yes.
And that's a common thing that we see in Ghana is children are being diagnosed at a later time. However, early intervention greatly improves life outcomes. So some of those early warning signs can be seen as young as 6 months.
Okay.
You know, when you're looking at a baby and you're smiling at the baby, they sometimes will smile back at you. Or if you're making ooh, they may try to copy your lip structure. That back and forth may not be there for a child with autism. You know, when they are 12 months, you're calling their name and they're not really turning or responding to their name. That would be an early warning sign. And then when a child is 16 months, if they have very few or no words, that is also a warning sign. So typically we see the lack of responding to name, the lack of reciprocal back and forth, even eye contact, and then the delays in communication are those early warning signs.
So what must a parent do as soon as you see that?
Yeah.
What should you do?
And just because you see those signs doesn't necessarily mean the child has autism.
Okay.
But the first step should be going to your pediatrician or local healthcare provider and reaching out to them to have the child screened. Autism can only be diagnosed by a doctor, so they need to do some observations and observe and take the child's history, and then can move forward.
I know that, even for parents, when your child is diagnosed of this, I mean, it could be a very big blow to take because you know that there's a lot of work involved.
Yes.
Why can't a child with autism be normal, go to a normal school?
They can, yeah. So especially as I mentioned earlier, early intervention makes a big impact. So if children get support when they're younger, they may be able to attend a typically developing school independently without needing a special person there. But those early supports are important to help them achieve that. And people with autism, they go on to live full lives. They, you know, sometimes can go on and have jobs, be married, have children. So it's not that when you hear the word autism, it's not a death sentence. There is hope. There is you know, progress that can be made with the right support and interventions.
Sometimes persons or a person living with autism also has certain advantages that the rest of us may not necessarily have. There's a good thing to it, right?
Yes, some children have what we call, or people with autism have what we call splinter skills. So they may be very brilliant in one area like math or science. You know, I used to live in Seattle, and not many, but there were some people working at Microsoft who have autism because their brain, you know, just works in this amazing computer-like way. So for some individuals with autism, they can be even more blessed with certain skills than we would have.
How do we use that, you know, to tell the story of autism to let or allow people to be more accommodating, to let people learn about also the condition?
So when we see a child coming up, we want to see what are the things that they show interest in and how can we create opportunities for them. In Ghana, there's limited employment opportunities for those with autism. However, as we mentioned, they may have special skills or, you know, very detail-orientated and very good at completing repetitive tasks. These are jobs that can be found here in Ghana. How can we create opportunities with different employment companies in a variety of areas for those with autism to have the opportunity to be employed and make a living just like anyone else?
Let's focus on the parents and with the work that you do. Who do you see often accompany a child? Is it the mother or the father or other members of the family? What is common?
I think here in Ghana, it's been a nice surprise to see both parents really involved.
Okay.
In some of my work in other countries, it was primarily the mother. However, with the children that we work with in Cape Coast and some of the families I work with in Accra, the fathers are also involved. But it's important that both parents are involved, that everyone is on the same page. And say there's other caretakers at home, maybe a grandmother lives there, everyone should be on the same page and know how to handle certain behaviors and encourage communication to create consistency for the child.
What sort of training do you need as a parent? Because there are certain things that you don't prepare yourself for. And certainly if you're pregnant before the baby comes, you would not have prepared yourself for this.
Yes.
To have a child with autism. So immediately, what do you have to understand? Like, what must you know?
I think there's a lot of resources out there online. However, parents need to be a little careful of what they're looking at, making sure that the information that they're seeking is research-based, evidence-based. A great website that's a common resource is called autismspeaks.org. They list out a lot of information on there. And then from that, parents can go on YouTube and watch different videos. We utilize applied behavior analysis, or ABA. And there are many videos online to show parents how to motivate the child to learn skills via the interest of the child. So if the child really loves cars, we're using the cars to reinforce and motivate and encourage the child to engage in various skills that we're teaching, such as communication.
You say it and you make it sound like it's an easy thing to do.
No, it's
but
not.
It's not.
It's not.
Tell us a bit more about what you do. Are you training are you teaching the children, you're training the parent or guardians to take care of the children?
It's a combination. Good programs also incorporate parent training as well. The school that we have in Cape Coast focus on the direct work with the students. However, we also have the parents come in for direct training with their child to learn how to utilize those same skills that they're learning at school in the home setting. And we hope to soon start home visits as well. because parent training, they're the ones that are with the child for their entire life,
Sure.
right? We may only be there for a handful of years. So to make that bigger impact for children to be able to generalize their skills, all of the family members need to also know how to set up opportunities for practice.
We've seen that in some families, sometimes the mother will have to stop work completely and take care of the child. I mean, is there an alternative? Is there something else that you could do instead of stop everything that you're doing to take care of that one child?
It's very difficult for parents, and you hear a variety of stories of struggles. I think that's where we need to push more for inclusive education here in Ghana, for all schools to be open and welcoming to children to be able to attend, so that mothers can go and work to be able to support their families while the child still has opportunities and access to education. Just because a child has autism doesn't mean they need to be staying home. Yeah.
What do we need? Because I guess if you're a teacher and you have maybe 30 or 40 students, if you have a child with autism, that's a lot of work for that teacher who's taking care of that large class already.
Exactly.
What is common is that we don't see a lot of children with autism in quote unquote normal schools, like everyday schools. So we have them put in special schools. But you're recommending that if we allow them to be in the normal school, then that will be good.
Yes.
But you need to have
Support.
a special training to be able to take care of a child like that in your class as a teacher, correct?
Yes. Teachers need to learn how to modify curriculum. You know, if all of your students are doing something at like a grade 2 level, maybe this child is more at a grade 1 level. How can you make some minor edits to the lesson you're teaching so the work that the child is doing independently is more at their level, but the other students are still able to keep up? We call it differentiating instruction. And then there's, you know, the behavioral side as well. And it's not easy being a general education teacher in a typical classroom and then to have a child with special needs, but we need to do what we can to support teachers to get the training. There's also those that study special education, and it would be great to see more special educators hired in the general education setting to help the teachers learn how to incorporate these children.
It's expensive to either be teaching, to have a facility like that, but it's also expensive for a parent who has a child with autism. Tell us about the costs involved for a parent. What should you prepare yourself for?
It's very difficult because there's even a lack of services. So there's some parents who can pay that are having difficulty finding centers or places to take their children. Right now in Cape Coast, we have 7 children on our wait list. Wow. And we actually utilize a sliding scale. So some parents pay something typical to a local school fee. Other parents pay, you know, as little as 5 CDs a month. But it depends. And, you know, ours is a nonprofit, an NGO, so we do a lot of fundraising and work outside of Ghana to support it. But if a parent has a child maybe in Accra, there's other centers that are available. But like you said, it can be quite expensive because it's sometimes one teacher to one student, and that's a whole teacher salary to cover. So I would love to see in the future that health insurance covers some of that cost for families. In the United States, that's how the majority of families are able to cover this huge financial burden. So that would be really nice to see in the future in Ghana.
Do you see that we pay attention, because you mentioned fundraising, do we pay that much attention to autism in Ghana?
Because I'm in the autism community, I see different autism fundraisers and events pop up. But that's an area that I think definitely could use a lot more attention here in Ghana. Outside of just the month of April, as you mentioned, right? We think of, today, World Autism Awareness Day, but autism is in the life of a child for their whole life, right? We need to focus on it more than just one day, more than just 1 month. How can different corporations get involved and have some of their their 1% of their profit go to support some of these centers that are running as like an NGO to support families that can't afford these services themselves. There's a lot that could be done.
Yeah, yeah. So tell us about the children that you have in Cape Coast. Tell us about those kids.
We currently have 14 students. We started a year and a half ago with 2. And they range in age from 2 years to 19.
19 years.
19, yes. Okay. And for our oldest, we're working to partner with another NGO to create vocational opportunities for him. So he's learned some skills.
That's the 19-year-old?
That's the 19-year-old.
Okay.
He's learned some skills to be able to work at this other NGO that deals with fair trade, with clothing and other things like that. So we're excited to get him rolling in their actual office. He's learned the skills at our school, and now we're going to transfer it to the office, and then eventually he can be independent and be making money himself through that skill. So the different goals that we focus on for children depends on their age level and their ability and what is most important to the family as well. We don't just focus on do they know their ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. We want to know, are they able to get their wants and needs met? Are they toilet trained? Can they feed themselves? If they're older, have they learned vocational skills where they could have a skill that can sustain them later in life? These are the different things that we might be working on with a child.
At what points would a child be totally independent?
So right now, our students are all in the center setting. I would love to see some of them in the future be able to be transferred as their skills progress to a general education setting with one of our teachers providing support, and then over time we would fade out that teacher. I've done that in my past experiences, and it would be great to see that in the future as well. But the main things that we look for is independent living skills, and it just depends. Autism is a whole spectrum, so some may not ever be completely independent, where some may, and they may be able to live a full life themselves, hold a job, like I said, all those things. Yeah.
How does so the condition is not one for each, like for every person, it's different.
Very different.
Everybody has a unique situation. How does a parent understand this? Because when you see other children develop and then maybe eventually become independent, you're also hopeful, and you know that eventually your child would get there. But if yours is not that, how do you understand the situation?
It's important not to compare, and it's important to start where the child is. Because if you see child B over here doing this and you think, oh, I want my child doing that, so you start working on it, well, maybe there's all these other skills that they need to learn before they're able to learn that one. So if you focus on that skill that's maybe too high for them at that time, you're losing time that they can be learning other skills to get to that point. So it's always important to look at where the child is now, what are those small basic things that we can be working on, and building them up to higher and higher level skills.
Your facility in Cape Coast, for instance, is it open such that even if there's no room for children, parents still come, or you'd have to go and find the children because parents are not willing to get their children to come out?
We have had people come from all over Ghana. They hear of our school. Unfortunately, we do not have boarding at this time, but we have had calls from the north. We had a lady come not long ago from Accra looking for services, and so far people have been coming to us. Yeah.
Okay, so somebody wanted to know if you have a boarding facility, but you've just touched on it. So on that note, let me just activate the phone lines. Let's hear people call in to see if there's something that you want to cross-check, if there's any support at all. I'm sure Whitney will be happy to do that. So give us a call, 0302-211-6910, 0302-211-6910. Give us a call and let's have a conversation. And I am on this issue with parents, because I can only imagine that it is difficult to have a child with autism. And we've heard stories about how sometimes one partner leaves and so the child is just on the other. And sometimes there are other children in the family who suffer because there's this one child who needs a lot more attention. So how do you balance your life if for instance you have 4 children but there's one with autism?
That's something that I've seen many times, where the siblings can really struggle and be actually acting out more to seek attention. So we recommend parents find ways to have just a few minutes a day individually with a sibling of autism, and also incorporating the sibling into some of the therapy. Maybe the child is working on play skills, and there's a way that the sibling can be helping with the turn-taking game that they might be practicing. So trying to incorporate them as well would be great.
Okay, let's go to the phone lines now. Rauf Ahmed is in Tamale. Rauf, good morning.
Good morning, madam.
Yes, sir. Thank you for calling. Let's hear you.
I'm monitoring your program. I want to know, if you are to enroll a child of that condition, where can you locate the school and how can you locate the school?
Okay. So first
And
of all,
also
it's
whether
not a
they
boarding.
have a boarding facility for children of that nature. Like, let's assume you are far away from Cape Coast.
Okay.
Bolaga or Wa or Tamale.
Okay. All right. Okay. Rauf, thank you very much. So the point is that Whitney School is not a boarding facility. And even with that, Whitney, there are people on the waiting list, so you can't take in every child.
Yes.
And that's why we have her here to help you out there if you're home, wherever, and you have a child with autism. There are certain things that parents, you can teach other people to do, right?
Yes. In applied behavior analysis, we utilize reinforcement. So we find what motivates the child. And, you know, even if there aren't centers or facilities in the region or the area where parents might be, there are definitely things they can do at home. So I would recommend looking up videos about applied behavior analysis. If, you know, say this newspaper is one of your favorite things, and one of the skills that I'm trying to get you to work on is responding to name. So typically a child with autism is not going to respond to their name.
Okay.
So what I might do is take this this paper, which is your favorite thing, we're pretending today, and it's your reinforcer. So what I'm going to do is, if you look away from me, and then I call your name, Mama V, and I'm going to take that item and track it from her eyes to my eyes. Wow, good looking. And then I give access to the item. So I'm using this as reinforcement. So the child learns that when I call their name and they look at me, they're going to get something that they really like, right? So I'm using it to track from your eyes to my eyes. And as soon as I get that eye contact, I'm going to provide that reinforcement, making it immediate. So in the future, maybe I can call your name Mama V, and I might wait 1 or 2 seconds and then try to get that eye contact, right? So that's one way that we would work on a skill. We would find what motivates the child and use that as the reinforcer for the skill we're working on.
Okay, I have a follow-up because I want to know for how long you have to do that. But let's speak to Lucy. Lucy Coffee is also in Tamale. Good morning, Lucy.
Good morning.
Thank you for calling. Let's hear you.
I want to find out if they can establish such institute in Tamale.
No, Lucy, please come again.
I want to find out if they can also establish such institute for kids with autism in Tamale.
Okay. So why do you ask that specific?
Because I know there would be children who would need such support and such help.
Okay.
And they may not have the finances to go far. It's sometimes difficult for some of them in Tamale.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Lucy, thank you very much.
Thank you.
In the future, Autism Compassion Africa has a large goal to establish centers in every region. Now, that's a long goal. We need a lot of help to get to that point, but as you can tell from these
You need a
phone
lot
calls,
of money, actually.
Yes. As you can tell from these phone calls, people with autism are all throughout Ghana. Like I said, there's 500,000 individuals here in this country. So we would love to be there in the future, but we have to, you know, do it strategically.
Yeah.
I believe there is a special needs school in Tamale, a government special needs school. So that's something they can follow up with the local education system there and look for that.
Okay. I have another call from Tamale. Alison ISA, good morning.
Good morning, madam.
Yes, sir. Thank you for holding. Let's hear you.
Yeah, thank you too. Your program is interesting. Yes, I'd like to know from the madam if she could come up here and establish such a school, because there are so many children like that walking around idly. So the parents has no idea of how to do with the children. So that's why I called to appeal to the madam to come up here and try to establish a school so that it could help.
Okay, Alison, thank you very much. So, all the calls that we've had so far, coming from Tamale, to be specific. Is there? Have you heard about the situation in Tamale? To be specific.
Last year, I had some different people contacting me from Tamale, also in need of a center and support. I know there are some people up there that are trying to work on some things, but as of right now, all I know of is the local government special needs school.
Okay, so can I ask this way? It doesn't sound like it's an attractive area to go. It's not a place where you can make profits. It's a place where you need a lot of patience in terms of autism.
Yes.
So it's a place where you have to make a lot of investment. What keeps you going? I don't know. What because you have a whole team. And you're dedicated to this.
We have an amazing team.
What is it about? And I know that you don't have a child with autism. So where do you find the love? And when I ask you, I'm also talking about the team that you work with as well. Because sometimes it's even harder for parents, and you're not a parent, somebody with a child with autism. So where do you get it from?
I always knew I wanted to be a teacher. And then my senior year of high school, I volunteered half a day in a special education classroom. And I just really fell in love with working with those with disabilities. And my life just kind of took off from there. I feel like it's been a journey that I kind of sat back and life landed me here. I never ever planned to be living in West Africa, but I'm here and I love it. And there's a huge need. And my staff in Cape Coast, and I have staff in Accra that I work with, and in Nigeria, they are all so passionate and they really truly care for these children. You can't do this job unless you have that passion and dedication to making lives better for individuals. So we all play our part, we all do what we can. One thing that ACA is focusing on, because we are only, I'm only one individual, I can only help so many people, but we're working to build capacity within Ghana. So we have 3 of our staff are starting this month their coursework in applied behavior analysis to become board certified assistant behavior analysts. Right now there's 2 of us who are board certified behavior analysts in Ghana, and we both work for ACA. And we are 2 of 3 in West Africa. So we're focusing on Ghana becoming a hub, a place where people can come, they can learn, they can grow, get training, get the supervision they need to be able to get certified, and then be able to spread out into these other regions of Ghana and into other regions of West Africa.
Okay, nice. So now just the final question, what you did, the analysis you did with the newspaper, if you're focused on that alone, for how long do you have to do it for a child to get it?
As we said, every child is different, but some children may pick it up in one session. Other children, it may take many months. But it all comes down to motivation, right? I want to find out, what do you really like? Do you want the paper or do you want the pen? Okay, you really love the pen? Great, we're going to use this as the reinforcer. Okay, so if the child is not really making progress with some of the skills you're working on, you want to always stop, and instead of looking at the program, you want to look at what am I using to motivate them? Because if they're motivated, they will learn so much, and they will grow and flourish, and they will be amazing.
Well, thank you for what you do, really.
Thank you.
You can't be everywhere. A lot of people would want to get some kind of motivation. Is there a place where they can get at least phone support?
So we have our school number, and I have a list of different contacts throughout Ghana and different centers. So maybe someone is in Accra and they need support, or they're in a different region and they need support. They can reach me on a WhatsApp line. It's 055-347-7494. That's 055-347-7494. And I can send out some additional contacts.
Okay, but this is only on WhatsApp.
That number also is a link to the school.
Okay.
So if different parents have questions, they can call in and they'll take a message, and I'll try to get back to them.
Okay, all right. Whitney, thank you so much for
your
time today.
Thank you so much.
And we'll see how we can carry this campaign all through the month of April. So watch out for our daily tidbits on autism. Courtesy Whitney, really. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the tips, and thank you for being here. Thank you for the education.